Hey everyone, welcome back to Star Flag Media Gaming. My name is Anthony. I want to welcome everybody here. This video is going to be talking about three things. So the first thing is Sony headed the way of Microsoft's Game Pass? Are they going to get rid of their consoles? Well, got a interesting interview here that happened, and we're going to be touching upon that, and then you guys can leave your thoughts on that. The second thing that we're going to talk about is a possible port for a beloved franchise to the Nintendo Switch. And then finally, we have Switch 2 earnings and rumors that may be heading or hinting at some hardware that is being manufactured. So, with that out of the way, let's get right into it. We're going to start off first with that very thing, which is the earnings report that may point to a Switch successor manufacturing. So another rumor, of course, so you can take this with a grain of salt, but Foxconn, as we all know, they manufacture iPhones and Samsungs, and of course they also manufacture probably your favorite video game console. So they have been known to make Nintendo Switch, for example. Well, Foxconn Technology is a contracted assembler for the Nintendo Switch, and mentioned previously, they're working on some game console technologies that strongly hinted at a massive assembly of the Switch successor. So yeah, so basically what's going on here, looks like due to their earnings report that came out, it's amounted to a 74% increase month over month and a whopping 223% increase year over year for their manufacturing. It would certainly seem that this is a big boost, and it would have come in the form of a Switch successor manufacturing. Now that makes a lot of sense if Nintendo is going to be announcing the Switch anytime in the near future. It's going to They have to really start ramping up manufacturing now if they are going to say release this in March or anywhere from March to May. I believe we're probably going to see this in May with a January or February announcement. They're going to wait until right after Christmas when that last bit of Nintendo Switch hardware can get sold for this holiday. And then they're going to let little Timmy know that, actually, the Switch 2 is probably going to be coming down the line in the next, 5 to 6 months. So I don't know what you guys think about that. Perhaps Foxconn is cluing us in. Speaking of the Nintendo Switch, Shenmue 3 is possibly receiving a port to the Nintendo Switch. The Shenmue series got its start back in the Dreamcast days, and it absolutely wowed critics and gamers alike. Since then, 2 more installments have been made, and of course, they've made their way around to different consoles. You got Shenmue 2 on the Xbox, and then Shenmue 3 made its way to PS4, but never has Shenmue been on a Nintendo platform. Well, it looks like INN recently secured the publishing rights to Shenmue 3, and they are, having an inquest, basically a survey. And the first thing that they ask fans is which platform they'd like to see Shenmue 3 released on. Included in the 4-platform rundown is none other than the Switch. You'd have hoped to see if the survey is mentioning Switch. Well, INN is already at least considering the idea. Still, take the survey, lock in your vote for a Switch to show INN that you are interested in it, and then you can go and get that link right below in the description if you wanted to take a survey and let them know if you do want to see Shenmue 3 on the Nintendo Switch. Shenmue 1 and 2 is combined, is Shenmue 1 for sure, is my personal favorite game of all time. So yeah, I'd be excited if I could have a portable version of that game. As we know, it came out on PS4. Nothing in that game that I saw seemed like it would be out of the question for a Switch port, and that it would be able to run on the Switch. I don't think that would be out of the question. What do you guys think? Are you guys excited for a Shenmue 3 port for the Nintendo Switch, or are you just ready to move on from that franchise? And then finally, this is probably the biggest one that we're going to be talking about, and it's going to be the most controversial of the entire video. As you guys have seen in the last couple of videos on the channel, we've been talking about Xbox Game Pass and the possible future of Microsoft consoles. It looks like someone who's worked for Sony for the last 30 years, and which is ironic because we've got our 30th anniversary for the PlayStation. We've got former Sony president who is questioning the future of consoles for everyone except Nintendo. So Nintendo is, of course, one of the most successful, if not the most successful, manufacturers of hardware in the last, 40 years of gaming. They single-handedly revived the industry, of course, with the video game crash. So Sony, former Sony president, CEO, Interactive, let's see his name here, Sean Layden, that's his name, of course it is. Just escaped me, yeah. So he had an interview with Eurogamer. And in that interview, they asked him a very specific question as to what he thought the future of console gaming is. And they basically said, with Microsoft bringing Xbox titles to multiple platforms, and Sony more recently doing the same thing, Layden then opens up on the future, what the future holds for consoles, but made a point to say his comments simply don't apply to Nintendo. So in that answer, he says, let's put Nintendo aside for a second because they live in their own private Idaho, where the laws of physics apply in different sorts of ways. But with Xbox versus PlayStation, the Ali versus Frazier fight, frankly, we have to start interrogating what is the purpose of a proprietary console and whether that can continue to be true. So basically, here's a guy who's worked for Sony for 30 years. He's one of the fathers of the PlayStation brand. The guy, he has a lot of inside knowledge. Now, he's not saying that Sony is necessarily going to go the way of just exclusively getting rid of its consoles. However, what he did say was proprietary consoles, something that only runs, Sony formatted games. So the way he expresses this, it falls in line with what I've been saying, or what I believe has been saying, and you guys can let me know in the comments what you guys think, is that in the next generation, we're probably going to get one more generation of solid consoles, solid games, out of both Microsoft and Sony. But with the servers and the high-speed internet becoming more readily available to everybody across the entire planet, it doesn't make sense for them to continue to make these proprietary consoles, which is a hardware loss leader. Which, for those of you guys who don't understand that, it means that when they launch these consoles, they usually lose money on the console itself, make the money on the back end by selling you video games and accessories like extra controllers, cables, whatnot, stands. That's where Sony makes its bulk of its money, and of course licensing to third parties. PlayStation now becoming bigger than just, consoles, Xbox becoming a brand with its ad campaign of this is an Xbox, everything is an Xbox. It seems to me that Sean Layden here is kind of laying in that groundwork where he says, as years go by and everything kind of matches up, it doesn't really make sense for us to continue to fight this console war. Maybe consoles are going away. So you're looking at probably an all-digital future. Are we going to get a PlayStation-branded streaming box or an Xbox-branded streaming box? I still think yes. I believe they're not going to go away completely. Hell, Sony still makes hardware for cameras. They make computers. They make cell phones. So it's not like they're just going to stop making hardware. But video game consoles are very selectively expensive to make, especially now with the diminishing returns that we're seeing in graphics. Like, is it a huge leap between the PS5 Pro and the PS5? You have to really put them right next to each other and really literally put a frame counter on there to see which one operates better. And at the very beginning of the PS5 Pro, some of these games actually ran worse on the PS5 Pro. It's just, it doesn't make sense for them to continue to keep pulling in millions upon millions of dollars on this when they already have the servers ready to go for cloud gaming. And with the PlayStation Portable now allowing for cloud gaming, this is them again testing that water. Back in the day, Sony launched the Xperia Play, and the PS Vita also allowed you to do 3G and 4G gaming over cellular networks. It's kind of like an evolution of that. When Sony did have the Sony Ericsson Xperia Play, they were kind of toying with the idea of expanding the PlayStation brand outside of consoles, and they literally made a PlayStation phone. So they're not above experimenting with their brand, expanding it. I just don't see a viable future in the next 10 years. I'm going to give it 10 years where we're going to keep getting these systems. For those of you guys who have doubts out there, you know, these are the same people who were screaming, oh no, there's no way that Call of Duty will be day one on Game Pass. It just won't. It just won't, because they won't cannibalize those sales. Well, guess what? Call of Duty was day one on Game Pass. Every time that a month goes by or 2 months goes by, I see Microsoft hammering home that Game Pass is their future, and now they're even saying that Xbox is just anything. Your TV's an Xbox. And now we've got Sean Layden here, who, again, he doesn't work for Sony now, but at one time was the big guy. He was the boss of Sony, the president of Sony of America. So he knows how the company runs. He knows what things go on behind the scenes. And for him to say, hey, we have to start questioning the future of consoles, proprietary consoles, that should be a wake-up call for all you Sony ponies out there, and all you Xbox, fanatic fanboys. It is what it is. Again, what he said literally is what I've been saying. Everybody except Nintendo, because we don't know what the hell Nintendo is going to do with their next generations. They're probably going to be the last one kicking and screaming into that digital future, and they'll find a way to make a quirky, weird Nintendo first-party proprietary box out of it. Anyway, that's all I've got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Is this the end of Sony PlayStation consoles in the next 10 years? Is Xbox going away? Do you guys want Shenmue 3 on the Switch? And what do you guys think about that Foxconn report? Is the Switch 2 ready to come out? And when do you guys think it's going to come out? As always, I am Anthony here at Star Flag Media Gaming, and I'll catch you guys next time.